call to order the Mount Pleasant Public School Board of Education regular meeting on February 19, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Mount Pleasant High School cafeteria. This meeting of the Mount Pleasant Public School Board of Education is a meeting conducted in public, but is not a meeting of the public. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is to conduct regular business that requires action by the board. These items may include those discussed at previous meetings or presented to the board for discussion. At this time, please turn on the silent yourself and stand for the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, I'm going to read our Indigenous Land Acknowledgement Statement. Mount Pleasant Public Schools is honored to acknowledge the Anishinaabe people whose traditional land we are gathered on today. To recognize the Anishinaabe people and their ancestral land is our expression of gratitude and appreciation, and a way of honoring the Indigenous people who have been living and working on this land since time immemorial, and whose land on which the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe has resided and continue to reside on for centuries. We feel it is important to understand the long-standing history of this land and to seek to understand our place within that history. Roll call.
Katie Bond here.
Meeting Pendle here.
Tim Whitaker here.
Katie Reed here. Melissa Isaac Monkey here. Jessica Jernigan here.
Thank you, everybody. The first thing we need to do is approve our agenda.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We do not have the Student Board of Education representative tonight, and so we're going to move on to our superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just start by thanking you all for being a part of the peacemaking ceremony that we just completed. Every year when we do this, I continue to hear from people that it's their favorite event of the year, and I wholeheartedly agree. It's just a really nice reflection of the great students that we have and their family support in our community. So thank you for being a part of that. This evening we're going to start my report with an annual report and update from Romano Building Services, our custodial group. So I will introduce you Kate Beal, Matt Hoffman, and Ben Beal, who will be presenting to us on behalf of RBS. Thank you for being here this evening. This is Kate.
Good evening. Just to open up, this is an org chart up here on the right-hand side to give you an overview of the management available to MPPS. Up top is Matt Hoffman, the operations manager, and right below that is myself. And I oversee all the first shift employees directly. And then there are also 2 night supervisors in the evenings to help support that, the majority of the staff in the evenings. Moving into our staffing over this last year, our RBS HR department continuously hires from the Mount Pleasant area to help provide the best candidates possible. And we have been fully staffed since the beginning of the contract, which is awesome. And our recent day shift turnover has been able to be replaced by long-term RBS employees. And we ended up adding crew lead positions at the middle school and the high school to help improve our quality and also our communication, especially with those being the 2 largest facilities. And also the MPPS business office in the HR department has continuously helped us and help benefit us with bringing in new employees quickly and efficiently. And that they've always been quick to help in that process, which has been amazing for us. And a good thing that's coming as of March 1st for our company is that we will be providing healthcare options to our employees to hopefully help with retention rates as well. We recently completed those informational and enrollment meetings, so we can get that, rolling for us on March 1st. Now, just to look back at some of the projects we completed over this past summer, we got a scrub and recoat of all the terrazzo hallway flooring throughout the entire district, deep clean of all the facilities, whether that be restrooms, classrooms, offices, full extraction of all carpets throughout the entire district. Also, the exterior windows got washed throughout the summer, whether that be first floor, second floor. And the images up on the right-hand side there is a before and after picture of the new 3M polishing process that we are bringing into the hallway floors. And this summer we were able to get Pullen and Gainard fully completed, which that picture, those images up there, the one on the left is the before of Gainard's cafeteria, and the image on the right is the after picture. And that is what the entirety of both of those schools before and afters look like. And this new polishing process we're using, it's way longer lasting than the previous product. Longer durability, easier maintenance, and an overall improved look of the facility. And our long-term plan with this process is every summer we're looking to achieve about 33% of converting those floors. And then just a little recap of our most previous winter break. We also got back to refinishing all those floors once again. We did a high-speed burnish of those polished floors, which just pop a shine back to them. Like I previously said, a lot easier maintenance for those. We did an additional deep clean of all those facilities mentioned before. And then, just the items listed on the right-hand side, we were able to get through, clean all the lockers, full carpet extraction once again. And the locker rooms and the restrooms, we were able to do this neat process with the ceramic tile and grout cleaning. Now this is a video that'll play that you should be able to see the before and after effect of what we were able to do in all of the restrooms and locker rooms.
Doesn't look like I'm able to get a video of that. It's like Kevin's trying to do something.
The grub starts dirty.
If you wanted to email me that video, I can share it with the board so they can see, because I have seen the before and after pictures, and it is pretty striking. The difference. So I apologize if that's not working. Oh, you.
Well, like Matt said, it was dirty and now it's clean. So.
Nice.
Because it was a PowerPoint, it's set,
Yeah.
drive, transfer,
So I'll share that with board members, but there is a striking difference.
Perfect. And going into our communication, that has improved from last year. We've continued our monthly meetings with administrators and principals. And we're utilizing those QR codes that we developed for whether it's concerns or praise, which are still building specific. And we have our mandatory under 2-hour response time for those concerns and or praise. And then CleanTelligent, which is that software system that backs those QR codes. Helps us with our quality control and quality assurance program, which allows for those quick responses and also the tracking of all of the items all the information we collect. We're able to track it, reference it, and learn from it moving forward. Over the last year, we've been doing inspections and then corrections on those inspections. So as of the last quarter of last year and up to this current point, we've averaged 95.33% in those average inspection scores, which falls right into that, mid-90s where we're looking to be as a company. So that's a great result for us. And then also the CBE program partnership, which has continued from last year into this year. This year we've added an extra CBE student, so instead of 2, we're at 3. And they are there Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at the 2 different times. One group is in the morning, one's in the afternoon. We've provided the training and the resources for this program, whether it be equipment, chemicals, supplies, or any guidance that the group might need. And it's just a successful and a great growing opportunity for those individuals in the CBE program. And we've been able to add tasks and add responsibilities to those returning students. So it's just showing an improvement of them from last year to this year. And then just to wrap it up, we've been fully staffed since the start of the contract, and those timelines for the polishing of the terrazzo floor were perfectly on schedule with those floors as well. The monthly meetings with, whether it be administrators or the principals themselves for individual buildings have benefited both RBS and the district and the specific schools tremendously. And one thing that we were very proud of for last summer is that we didn't have to lay any of our employees off over the summer. So that was a great thing. Thank you for your time.
I think we're all like some questions.
Some questions.
Can you remind us what CBE stands for?
It's a community-based education program.
Yes.
So that is a special education program for students that are 18 to 26. So they're actually, they take their classes at Kinney School, and then part of it is a work-based experience. And we were able to start last year with having some students work for RPS. So it's been a great partnership.
Thank you.
Can you tell me or tell us what your staffing and turnover look like relative to your industry?
Yeah, it came up. I don't have an exact number on it. We're probably in the 100 to 120% turnover. Industry standards 400 to 800%. Usually on the higher side. And generally our turnover is probably 20% positions. Average length of service, I want to say I just did a thing on it about 3 months ago, was a little over 3 years for average length of service for our employees. So, does that answer?
I think so. It sounds awesome.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I have similar types of questions, but you mentioned healthcare, which is really awesome news. Roughly how many people that are using or that are working in our buildings with that effect? I don't need a head count, but I'm trying to get the gauge of how big of that change.
You asking total employees that could affect?
Yes,
That are employed.
yes. Because I'm
Yeah.
guessing you have to be full-time to get the healthcare.
Yeah, so looking around the range is 30 to 35 employees.
That's pretty awesome, and it's great to see this kind of initiative. So, thank you.
I know. Sorry.
The QR codes, are the staff and the public utilizing them much? Are they noticing them and leveraging them?
Yes, definitely. Whether it be for the concerns of the parades, it's helps us with a very quick turnaround time and response time. We'll get some ever so often from varying schools. It's definitely being utilized.
Yeah, it's cool to see stuff that you described to us last year. It's working, so it's good to know that. Thanks for the update.
And including the monthly meeting, I know that was new last year, and to see that working well for everyone, it's great.
Thank you very much, Kate, for that. Let's add that. Next on my report, we have an update from Mount Pleasant Middle School, and we have Darby Weaver. Thank you, Darby.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So I just have a few slides this evening, just kind of highlighting all the great things that we have going on recently at the middle school. And when I looked back at my presentation, the last time I was here, I had a little bit more data, but I also had some things that I kind of wanted to share again this time, along with some additional things. And that's here on the first slide. We talked before, and as you know, as a district, we're doing the Capturing Kids' Hearts program, and we just had our traction visit last week. And so Joe Hellerito is the person who came and went through the building. He visited over 15 classrooms. He visited like our morning time, our lunch time. He met with student council, he met with administrators and counselors, and then he also met with our process champions. And we have about 8 process champions, which are just teachers who went through the training, but also who are kind of leading the building throughout professional development, but also being kind of those model teachers for the CKH work and helping us keep it alive and continue the work throughout the year and as we move forward. And so he met with all of that and provided some feedback for us, and we'll continue to work through, we have a recharge or another professional development next Tuesday, half day. So he was going to meet with the presenter who would be meeting with us at the middle school to kind of share where we're at and some things that will help us just continue to move forward. And when he was with me, we looked at a little bit of our student data because we did teacher surveys for where they were for the CKH work, but we also had the students do the surveys as well. And we had 458 students who responded, which I still wanted about 150 more, but he was actually very excited with that number. He thought it was really good. And so I took it, and about 70-ish kids responded, which was good. And some of those questions are specific parts that I thought were really good, where my teachers encouraged me to be the best student I can be. And our students put a 3.7, and the baseline is a 3.6 of where they'd like to have us at. When students don't feel when students don't follow, our classroom social contract, consequences are consistent, and they put a 3.2 and baseline's a 3.1. And I don't think that's opposite, I think it's the same. We were scoring higher than the baseline in these. And then I know what happens and what the consequences are when I don't follow our social contract. And in the past with our perception surveys, even just community, but also kind of the students, is they felt like maybe the consequences weren't noticed or the consequences weren't fair or they weren't seeing that kind of fairness in equal pieces. And so these were really specific questions, and nice to see that with the CKH work, that they were able to see that there's some consistency along with the consequences that happen with the social contracts in the classrooms. So I wanted to highlight that, and it also reminded me back to our student perception surveys that we did kind of in the fall that we were really proud of. And we just talked about this as kind of a district, my kid team too. But the teachers or adults in my school care about me. They listen to me, talk to them, they help them, and that was 87.4%. And we had more responses on that student perception survey than 458. We had closer to about 600. Teachers treat me with respect at 90.1. I know what to do in emergency situations for safety, and I have at least one friend at school. And we think both of those data pieces are just huge around the CKH work, but also a lot of the work that we've done over the past few years with really being more inclusive, but also making sure that our students have relationships with our adults. So as we're moving forward, some other things that we have going on, we already had a blood drive, I think in December, and then we're having another one. So if anyone, Ms. Road wanted to know if anyone wants to donate, it's this week, and make sure and get signed up. We still have a few sections that are open for anyone who'd like to do that. And the student council's been working hard. We have been, in the past, we had staff kind of driving some of our DEI work, and this year we've shifted it over to student council doing quite a bit of it. And we had a Chinese New Year video that they put together for us in our advisory. And then also they had little fortune cookies that student council passed out in bags, and they were able to have that as well. Our kitchen staff did Mardi Gras. That's a picture of the students coming through. So they did that just on their own, and decorations, and they really liked that. That was fun. And then we're still working on Black History Month is still, and we're actually using some of our circle activities during our advisory with some proactive kind of topics where they're learning about different individuals, and then also having conversations around maybe quotes or facts that they're learning. So everybody's doing that in advisory, but we've made that shift over student council, and Mrs. Rowe really helping us with that this year. And then we are still working through February, but our kindness activities are kind of dwindling out now, but we've done 2 solid weeks. We have Spirit Week for Kindness Week. You probably saw that maybe in other buildings as well. So the first week we did Kindness Hearts, and all of the advisories were given so many hearts, and it was the goal for the first week for students to write kind notes or affirmations to staff. So any staff that we had in the building. And it was really amazing. That's just one of the teachers' doors with the hearts. And there's nothing like getting a kindness heart from a student. Like it is probably the best thing as an educator versus, you know, one from even one of your peers or one from your boss, or it's, when you get one from a student, it's probably like the biggest, I think, and my staff does too. It's just like one of those like serious affirmations, like the reason why I'm here, and it is just really affirmed. So that was a really great week, and students loved it, and they loved the hearts. And on the Friday of that week, I did a drawing and pulled off hearts from random drawers, and they got snacks and stuff like that. But we also did a kindness wall. We just did it last week. It's still going. And if you haven't seen it, students submit a kindness note, and the kindness e-wall, or the electronic one, the goal was for students to students, but they also were able to do staff still if they were kind of still on that. So they submit a kindness message, and it goes through a program, and then they have to be approved. And I have about 15 people in the building approving them at all times. And then they're posted at lunchtime in the cafeteria, and they're also posted in our main TV in our entryway. So students have really liked those as well. So and on the bottom of it is where you can submit it, and I sent it out in the way, and parents submitted and put pictures on it, and it was just really great. So that was a free program, kind of has on the bottom the company that puts it out there to schools, and it has like a little advertisement that goes along with it. But it's really a great thing that I found that I thought was good for students. So we finished that, and then the Kindness Spirit Week was our shift. We still had a little bit of, you know, Valentine's stuff happening, but really very minimal. And we really focused on kindness really hard over those 2 weeks, and we did some Capturing Kids' Hearts work as well for kindness, and had some activities and worked on it in our classrooms and with our social contracts. And then it is time for Miles for Miracles. If you get my WAG, this has been out for a couple of weeks. Our theme this year is Growing a Cause. And you can kind of see the picture of the t-shirt design that was designed by a student. And this is the one that was chosen or won. And they started their fundraising. We're trying a grilled cheese fundraiser. I think that's this week. So students are behind grilled cheese. We have a group of students who helps run the Miles for Miracles committee, and they come up with these great ideas. So we'll be flipping grilled cheese on the griddle this week at some point. So, and I think, this is the last one where Julie Wright, our Dean of Students, she wrote a 2% grant in the fall for this program, which is WEB, which is Where Everybody Belongs. And this is one of those missing pieces at the middle school that we've discussed before with like a mentoring program. And really the mentoring program starts with the incoming 6th graders and definitely new students as well that come into the building. So we had 3 teachers, I think they're called like advisors, I think so. And they went to the training in February, so they just got done with the training. And then now they're working with Ms. Wright to plan kind of an orientation for August, where, well, in addition to like our normal open house, we'll have another thing too that that students will be able to come to if they wish, but kind of led through these leaders and also 8th grade students, so it would be our current 7th grade students, who would want to be part of that, to starting to get to know the sixth graders. And then there'll be connections with the eighth grader, next year's eighth graders, next year's sixth graders, as they work through starting the year. And they also have some pieces for academic follow-ups, like social follow-ups, and just having a contact in the building as we move through. So that's one need that we feel like this program is going to help with, and she got a nice 2% to help us with that. Also, new students as well, along with our incoming sixth graders. And so I put that link on there if anyone wants to look into it further. And Ms. Wright was hoping that maybe in the near future, her and the advisors can present the program as well to the board. So that is it. Who has any questions?
More comments. One, congratulations on getting that impact that you've been looking for. Evidence to show that it's working. To you and your team, that's pretty impressive.
I agree.
The other thing is I'm very excited about this web program. Nora Bailey's juniors had something similar, and I know my kids and a lot of kids really benefited, and when she retired, it kind of slowed down. So I'm excited to see something to fill that void and that transition. It's awesome.
Yes, we are too. Thanks.
First of all, I will admit I was skeptical about capturing kids' hearts, but I do appreciate that there is follow-through in the process as far as training people on site. The process champs, like check-in visits and then a recharge. I think all of that goes a long way with not just this program, but could go a long way with like a lot of professional development that we do. My question is about like correlation versus causation. So was the student perception data, was it created by capturing kids' hearts, or was that separate from, is that separate from the Capturing Kids' Hearts program, and you're seeing that it correlates with what is happening?
Are you asking, are those questions just from Capturing Kids' Heart, or like what we're seeing specific to Capturing Kids' Hearts, or just kind of in general?
So typically when you have a program and they have the evaluation piece, it's tied directly to the program to see what kind of results you get. So is it a part of the program that was already developed, or was it the perception survey that you had that was separate from Capturing Kids' Hearts that you're seeing a correlation with?
So I'm going to say both. So the first slide with the data that has the Capturing Kids' Hearts and then the perception survey on the bottom, the top one that has student data where 458 students responded, that is straight from the Capturing Kids' Heart program. So that was directly related to Capturing Kids' Hearts processes and specific things we've implemented this year, so far this year. And then the bottom, which is the student perception surveys, those are the same perception surveys that we ask as a district for our MyKIP programming. And so that data there would be specific, I can compare to my past years. So the student perception surveys, I have seen the growth in those areas overall from the work we've done at the middle school, and then the CKH data, I was happy to see those numbers with the work that we've already done.
So then I will say congratulations on that, and thank you for including both so that we can see. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. We were very happy with our perception surveys this year. Definitely, we're still making progress, but that was something that has really stood out for us and we've been happy and proud of. So thank you.
I think you should be very proud, and considering the first, I remember seeing the very first survey data of students and how much those numbers have changed in the best of ways, and so that's a huge accomplishment in actually quite a short period of time. And I don't know how we can share that more widely. I don't know if even some kind of thinking like a letter to parents or something that we go out to really kind of emphasize this is a big deal, and anything we can do to convey that and get you kind of that recognition would be awesome. I was really happy to see too kind of the student-led DEI effort. I think that's something I know you've talked about, and to see that happen, I know it's always easy to talk and much harder to do. And so that was really nice to see kind of that change in focus a little bit. I did have a question about the mentoring program. So it's the 8th graders that are mentoring the 6th and 7th. Is that the web viewers, or did I misunderstand?
No, you're correct. So it'll be the 8th graders, but so it'll be next year's 8th graders, so our current 7th graders. And I think our first goal, and when Ms. Wright presents in her advisors, it might sound a little different, but in my mind, it would be starting with the incoming sixth graders. And then we have a little missing piece when we have new students who come. Our counselors like take them on a tour and walk them through, but then it's just kind of like, let them go. And I feel like sometimes they need someone to connect with at lunchtime or someone to kind of, go through a day with them. And so I see it as initially sixth grade and then our new students. And then I don't know if there's a much bigger piece as we keep progressing, if it just continues and includes the seventh grade too. So I'm not sure how that works completely, but our first goal is those incoming sixth graders and the new students in my mind.
And so the seventh graders are getting a little bit of training or now, so that they're ready.
Their first part is to work on who would be interested in this type of being this type of mentor, and then they'll start doing the training with those students. And our trainers are our 3 staff members in Ms. Wright that went through the training just in February. So they probably have a much better idea and bigger idea. But I wanted to make sure I put it on here because it did just get started, and she wanted to find a time to present to you guys a much clearer picture.
I do think it's excellent. There's a ton of research showing the impact of mentorship, and especially peer-to-peer mentorship, which is exactly what you're doing. So that's really awesome, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
We are already, a couple of teachers just suggested that we try to do kind of our own academic mentoring still this year. We don't have it completely in place yet, but some 8th graders who would be interested in helping some 6th graders just academically right now and using some advisory time and such. So we just got our 8th grade names and we're working on connecting those with some 6th graders. So that's getting started for the 3rd try for sure as well. Definitely not through a program, mostly through, let's see how this works.
I'm sure you've heard this before, but one thing I've heard a lot from parents is that the transition from grade school to middle school is especially rough. So I'm really excited about this.
We are too. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Next on my report, we will move into review of our policies. So we'll start with 4300, which is looking at non-exempt staff under district employment. And so the first policy is 4301, we're looking at definitions.
I have the table open and and there was no comments.
4302.
And I do have a quick question. I don't know, that's the only one where and that's part of it is that I haven't gone back to see. I feel like sometimes at the very beginning we would introduce something to add a little bit those, and this one is the only one I flinched a little bit, and I know it's not us, it's the law language when it states non-exempt staff are employed at will, and their employment may be altered or terminated at any time with or without causes, and it may be paused, and I know that's how it has to be. I don't know if we can tag just to say, while we value these employees, we recognize that that's how that employment works, is that it can be terminated without cause. But it definitely makes me pause. And I'm okay if we can't. This way, I didn't put it on the comment, but
So prior to that sentence, non-exempt staff, just something I'll leave there.
it's the only place where for non-exempt staff, it just, it's a little harder to read. Everywhere else, all the rest of the 4300s, it didn't feel that way.
Thank you. 4302, employee pay, including minimum wage and overtime. Comments? 4303, intention of blank. 4304, employee timekeeping responsibilities.
No comments either.
4305, Michigan Paid Medical Leave Act. 4306, assignment and transfer.
Was no comments on this one?
4307, performance evaluation.
I did have one there. I understand the need to stay vague on the frequency of evaluation. I'm guessing some of these appointments are very short. But I wondered if we could put a suggestion, especially for those that are employed a little bit longer term, to say if there's a longer employment that we, or if we do want to keep it vague so we don't get in trouble.
So if there's a longer employment, we would be more specific with when they're evaluated or how often or.
Maybe, yeah, and I didn't know how we could, like, I get the point of the vagueness. I'm sorry, I'm
It's on page 10.
Yeah, thank you. It states right now, the superintendent or designee will determine the frequency of evaluations for non-exempt staff not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. And so I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe that's fine. Maybe that is. I pick that up. I know Jessica, you mentioned you put your initial next to it.
Yeah, I thought it was a reasonable question to ask while we're going through these.
I mean, maybe we never, I'm guessing non-exempt staff, and maybe you can tell us a little more how short these appointments maybe are, and if there's never someone that's going to be longer term, then maybe that's.
No, I think this can be a wide variety of kinds of employees, so it could be long-term, it could be short-term. I don't know because it's sort of a catch-all of a variety of different employee groups.
I see,
So without identifying every employee group,
and evaluations would be very different.
they could. I don't know if we would say something like, we could say in most cases staff are evaluated annually or something
okay
like
with
that.
that, yeah.
What you say is probably fairly true, right? So we maybe add that sentence at the end of the first paragraph.
Thank you.
That.
I would just say, it still gives some wiggle room, but it sets an expectation on that.
I think that is something like this that I was looking for.
4308, reduction and recall of non-exempt staff.
It was the comments.
4309, discipline and termination.
We have some comments there. I can start it off. The last sentence of paragraph A mentions unprofessional conduct. And I wasn't quite sure what this sentence was after, and then there's some comments from Jessica and Melissa following this, kind of picking up on that unprofessional conduct. And someone pointed out it comes back in several spots.
So the comment that I added is I went right to the law to see that sometimes they will have a definition buried in there somewhere, and I did cut and paste it right from there, what the definition of unprofessional conduct is.
I would love if we could have some kind of definition. And then maybe, I know we've talked about definitions several times, having some kind of glossary or something where we can keep coming back to, especially if it's a term that comes back.
So I guess the concern would be if we added, if we had a reference to the law and then we add in the definition, if the law changes, then we have to make sure that we're keeping up with changing of the definition. And so just by referencing the law, someone could do exactly what Melissa did, which is go to that law, which we would know would then be current and keep the definition current. So that would be the only thing the only reason why I would be hesitant to put a specific definition in. Sort of similar in my mind to the conversation regarding tenure. Tenure is very clearly defined by law. So we can reference tenure, we can reference where tenure is defined, but I don't wanna define tenure in our policies because if that changes, I want us to be current. So
I'm okay, especially if we say as defined by law,
Yeah.
put it right after. I
So,
don't
and
need
that's,
definition.
so where it says here consistent with revised code, section 1230B, and Melissa, is that where you went to get the definition?
Yeah, it's like bullet E, section B.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with as defined by Michigan law or as defined by law.
So do you think that the phrase as defined by law needs to be added, or is the consistent with revised school code 1230B, is that enough?
Well, there are also other instances of unprofessional conduct turning up that doesn't have that exact same language, so, I mean, I feel like,
So for a school, I believe, and Linda, this is your area of expertise certainly, that when we talk about unprofessional conduct for any school employee, it is very specific back to that definition.
okay.
Is that, I mean, there really isn't a
It's
gray
not
area.
just unprofessional, you showed up 5 minutes for work late, it's a very
Yes.
specific.
I think having that would have helped me, knowing that it's that tight, and then a reference to it, and I don't care how the reference is made, as long as it's referenced, I think it'd be perfectly fine.
Does that
Yeah, that's
sound good? Okay. Were there other comments in the chart on that section?
No, I think everything has to do with that.
That's great. Okay, yeah. Okay. That is the 4300s. We can now move to the 4400s. And that is also on district employment. This is focused on professional staff. So 4401 goes through definitions.
There were no comments there.
4402 is assignment and transfer.
No comments here.
4403 is performance evaluation.
I just had a quick question. On A8, it says it's website posting of required information for the evaluation tool. So I just said, is this evaluation tool posted on the website as indicated as policy? I did some looking and didn't see it quickly, doesn't mean it's not there, but I just wondered what it was called or where that came from.
For our professional staff, we use the Charlotte Danielson evaluation tool, and that's posted under our transparency section. It should be. We can double check and verify that, but we've used the Charlotte Danielson tool since 2012, 2013.
I just wanted to be sure,
Yeah.
because it said,
Yep.
you know,
For
sometimes
sure.
these are new things coming.
Yes, yep. And that is one of the 4 approved tools by the state of Michigan, and that is the tool that is used by Gresham, all districts in Gresham as well, areas. Other comments on that section? 4404, performance-based compensation, and you'll note that this is a new policy. Well, we initially approved this policy back in August, but it's one that we just revised last month.
So I had more of a question than something to change, but I wondered if that's something that we're currently doing.
It is. So the difference here and the reason why we have the update is prior to the changes, the recent changes in legislation, districts were required to have a performance-based pool for our staff. We call merit pay. And so that based on evaluation, teachers were given a certain amount of merit pay based on their score and their evaluation. So basically what this policy, what the change in this policy does is allows us to negotiate that we could have that pool or we could do something.
Thank you for clarifying.
4405, reduction in force and recall.
That's the first one where I thought it was missing the superintendent or designee. It was in all the ones above, and then I'm not saying I caught them all, but that's one spot where I saw it was missing.
Do you have a section, just like the 1A?
Would be nice.
I do see it in some spots in this.
Let me see if I can quickly get it out. It was the A1, so the very beginning, general provisions, the superintendent will be responsible. And then A1A, A1B has it as well, is missing.
So if we were to say A1A, the superintendent or designee, then do you feel like every time the superintendent is mentioned, we need to reference or designee? Or if we do it once at the beginning of the policy, is that?
I think we should be consistent.
And yeah, that's the reason I flagged it out too, because we had that conversation before saying, let's keep it, just in case. And so consistency is good.
You can have it throughout.
Thank you.
Other comments about 4405?
That was it for the document.
Kevin, am I right that 4405 is one of the ones that we have a new policy that goes into effect July 1? So, yeah, so that was one of the ones where we just approved last month. It was listed with an R at the end of it, so that's why it's not reflected in what we have here, because it doesn't go into effect until July 1. So I'll make sure when I do those changes, I do that on the policy that goes into effect.
Thank you.
Okay, 4406, professional improvement sabbaticals. 4407, discipline.
Jessica, I noted that the unprofessional conduct phrase is used here as well. So they can do the safety reference law. This is defining. Where is this defined?
Did you know where that was, Jessica?
I did not. You?
Okay, I can look there and find it.
Yeah.
I just was gonna write it down if it was easy.
And there also there's a search tool, so I just searched the whole policy, all the policies for that phrase.
Anything else on 4407? Okay. 4408, termination.
There's no comments on the table.
4409, non-renewal.
No comments either.
And it makes sense to me that we don't have a lot of comments because we did again just review all these policies just in the last month. So okay, we'll get to work on those. Next under my report is looking at the Board of Education educational governance agreements. I shared with you the document that I created from your agreements. And I apologize that I didn't put that in the folder, but I will get that up for you right now. So, yeah, I attached it to an email. Is it in there?
It's a 5.
Okay. So you have, I see, oh, because I changed it to one. There's numbers. Geez. Right, the one I just put on. Okay, there it is. Great, bullets. Okay. So I took from our conversation at the last board meeting, included those broad categories, sort of organized them in a format that is similar to what we used before, and then added a spot where board members could sign, indicating their agreement. So we thought that it would probably be best to have one last look at it, and then if you all felt so inclined, we could officially approve this under new businesses. But I'll move on to
Any comments on our educational governance agreements?
I like the structure. I like how it's turned out. I think it's a nice reflection of many of the things that we've talked about. And I think it's a nice, good path for other committees, which is the other thing that we talked about. But I really like how we have those main buckets. So that's a very nice touch, I think, to make it so it mix up. So I think it turned out quite well.
Yeah, I'm glad we went through this process. I just noticed a duplicate sentence, and I just hope that was intentional, two different sections or not. No, I see it.
Tell me where I probably could just be a cut and paste
No,
error.
okay, so in the first section, professionalism, it's the 1, 2, 3, the fourth bullet point is also the first bullet point, inclusive collaboration. So I just wondered if we chose where we wanted it, and just left it,
I'm sure that's a cut and paste error, I just don't know which section you
I actually think it wasn't discussion, it was, oh, it could also be long over there.
Yes.
And
I
so,
was just about to add that.
yeah.
That's almost another two.
would it be okay though to park it under one of them?
I would strike from the first one and keep it in the inclusive collaboration.
Is that good with everyone?
And this is probably silly, but I like how there's like 3 bullet points under 3 of them. I was like, can we condense that first one down a little bit? We don't necessarily have to. And then the other comment is just, we have dedication to community engagement, which I really like, but I kind of somewhere would like to see more input from different stakeholders. Like when we're making decisions, I know we talked about the last bullet point on the professionalism one, utilize data and evidence to inform decision making. And one of the drafts had, and also, I can't remember what the wording was, but I'm gonna botch it off the spot, but something about, and the experiences of those impacted.
It's tricky because it's about what the board sets, right? And so we can set language in a way that welcomes feedback, which I thought was in there, but I don't see it right now. Right, that we're welcoming the feedback.
I think it's the first bullet point, commitment to continuous growth.
But we can't say, please give us feedback. Like, we can't demand the community provides feedback. All we can say is how we'll act, is that we'll welcome the feedback and we'll provide opportunities for the feedback. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it was just, and maybe it's just hard reading it. Feedback to me comes from decisions made versus being part of how a decision is made.
Yeah. So feedback's the wrong word,
But I think feedback, that's a piece of it. There was just, I felt like if I'm reading this from different stakeholders' lenses, do I feel like I'm having input or we're all just doing things? Does that make sense?
Yep. I'm reading through again and seeing if there's a spot where we can tweak a tad to capture what you're saying.
Now, I kind of look at it that first bullet under inclusion and collaboration, which we just talked about, and our under dedication to community engagement, the first bullet. Those things I think seem to be touched. That being open and actively getting feedback.
So it states actively seeking out and valuing their concerns.
I think for me that,
To me, that's like, is that enough, Katie?
Tell me,
It's the first bullet point of dedication to community engagement, and I'll read it all for the sake of the audience. Prioritize accessibility to the community, actively seeking out and valuing their concerns, especially those of historically marginalized groups. So to me, that does what you were describing.
Yeah. I think so.
And especially under that dedication to community engagement section.
Meaning community, including the district as well. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I think we can compartmentalize. That makes sense. Am I making?
do you mean that it might appear as if community meant the this group as opposed to the larger community?
I'm just thinking, I don't know, there's so many what ifs, right? It's hard, but like, if teachers were concerned about something, you know, obviously they're a part of our community. I'm probably overthinking, I'm just thinking that.
That's okay.
I just wanna make sure that people just feel like the decisions we're making, you know,
And I do like the wording, the actively seeking out, to me covers that, and the last, well, the commitment to continuous growth has embraced feedback openly, so we can actually have both of the things you were talking about, right, that the feedback part and the seeking out concerns. So I don't know, but I think that it's it for
no,
it.
I think that, thanks for pointing that out, that does help. I think I was looking more at that particular bullet point at the end of professionals about utilizing data and evidence to inform decision making, and I just liked how one of the drafts we had and the experience of those impacted, you know, just because to me it was like, yes, we're using data, but we're also hearing the experience of, you know, just like with capturing kids' hearts, for example, right? Like, we're not just looking at data, we're hearing the teachers, we're hearing the stories of how it's impacting. That's Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like the way that it turned out. Mine was just a small grammatical thing on sentence 3, and I don't have my glasses on, so I think that's a comment in that.
Oh, right.
Okay, just making sure.
Gosh.
And I have a question for you all. So if I read this at the beginning of our board meetings, if we can think of a way to maybe change the very beginning, so that instead of we agree to the following and then I read 5 things, if we can have an active verb or something that we commit to. So I think we agree to is enough. So I just actually was opening it up to see if you like that.
I mean, could you say, as board members, we are committed to professionalism, respect and equity, inclusive collaboration, responsibility for the community.
Yeah,
We are committed to.
yeah, and I think the commit is better than the agree. The agree, that I don't know if it was true.
Did we decide, well, is it gonna be read like the headings? Like, did we decide that based on every bullet point?
The thought was that I would read the headings and that we'd have the full version available. I can't remember when we noted that we go, I think in the agenda. On the table.
Is there, I was thinking about this, is there like a meeting that kicks off the preceding year of meetings? And if so, maybe you read it in its entirety to start out that year, and then the bullets from there on with the thing available.
I'm happy to read that every January, whatever.
Organizational.
Organizational.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea to do that.
Yeah, I
That's
like.
what we traditionally do, the other version.
I
That's
think
what we
that's
decided.
what's
But I made that commitment is during that organization.
I'm sorry, Tim, I can't hear you at all.
So traditionally, that's when we would read it and sign it, that during that organizational meeting, so I think it's valid to continue that as long as.
Oh, and we could also read it for the public at the meeting after that, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean, so the public
Give me your card.
just the one time and then have it available if they missed it and want to see it.
I love the, I mean, I know it's paper, but I really like having it as part of the agenda. Again, I think it's kind of that setting the tone. So I can read it at the January 1st board meeting of your baby's organizational after we've signed. And then just have that as a meeting.
So are you wanting to change the language where it says, add board members, we agree to the following? Do we want to change it to we are committed to, or we're leaving it like this and just shows say? I just want to make sure you're going to make those changes.
I like committed.
Yeah, I prefer that too. Which is okay. Yes. And I think that we should be proud of the work. I think it, it took us a while, but it's important. And I'm happy for the time that you all spent thinking about this.
One last item then under my report this evening, we received a really nice correspondence from Snow Snake, and I just wanted to take a minute to read this and share this with you. Dear Rockville Public Schools, on behalf of the Snow Snake family, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude for the support you provide to your ski team. Your commitment to supporting young skiers allows student athletes to pursue their passion for the sport and provides them with skills for success in life. The local ski community is truly fortunate to have school districts that continue to support their ski teams. Thank you once again for believing in your student athletes. Sincerely, Mick Haley, Manager, Snow Snake Ski and Golf. And we did have a very successful ski season this year. We have 2 male skiers going to states, and our boys ski team won the conference, the region, they just finished quite well. So it's been a great season for the ski team, even though it's been a very weird and awkward winter.
Is it the first time we've seen a battle from Snow Snake?
That I am aware of, yes, yeah. So, and I'm sure they're probably feeling the repercussions of a very odd winter, so to have our support is important. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next on our agenda, we have the requested financial needs.
Good evening. Inherently in your board packets, the general fund and social service funds revenue and expenditures of comparison reports for the years 2019, 2020 to 2023, 2024. For general fund, you'll see here the 5-year average is really right at market for both the revenues and expenditures. For 23-24 is 35% of budget for revenues compared to 44% of budget for expenditures. You can see here our special service funds have pinball over. These funds are all very unique. We have our self-sustaining sports, our children's learning center, nurse testing program, food service, and then the school store here in the area. For our treasurer's report, general fund on December 31st had cash balance of $6.5 million. We had receipts in the month of January of $6.9 million and disbursements of $6.6 million. That brings us a balance on January 31st of $6.7 million. For our debt retirement fund, we're starting to get in net tax revenue. On December 31st, we had a balance of $272,000. In January, we had receipts of just over $1 million and no disbursements for the month of January. That brings us a balance on January 31st of $1.3 million. And then for our capital projects fund, on December 31st, we had $13.3 million. We had interest income of $56,000 and disbursements of just over $1 million. That brings us a balance on January 31st of $12.3 million.
Thank you. We received group correspondence in the last period since our last board meeting. This was a citizen's request to address the board, and they are non-seeking. That was us for our consent agenda. The first item on our consent agenda is the approval of the minutes from the February 5th regular meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. We have to approve bills for this month. Is there a motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. We have a few items under the new business category. And if you're okay with our language, we did put in the approval of the Board of Education educational governance agreements that we just talked about.
Board of Education governance agreements. Changes in this list.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. Maybe we can have copies for the next meeting.
That'd be awesome.
Next is the approval of a bond resolution.
Ginger, do you want to?
Sure. You have in your board packets a very lengthy resolution from our lawyers, which we
appreciate them. If you remember back in 21 when we sold our bond, it was a $45 million bond that we are planning on issuing in 4 different series. So the first series we sold for $24 million. It's time now to sell series 2, which means we will be getting more income to help pay for the projects. You can see the report I just gave you, we're down to $13 million, which might sound like a lot, but as we're going through all the projects, we're going to be able to. So it's time to sell series 2. We're planning on selling it for about $13 million. We'll be doing bond pricing in May with delivery in June. And this resolution is just for you to approve if you so wish, authorizing us to move forward with that process. No other questions for me? I'll just say that this is a huge cooperation with PFM, our financial advisors, Stifel, which are our bond underwriters, and then True, our bond counsel to offer. Questions?
I move that we accept the resolution for the authorizing the issuance and delegating and sale of bonds on our second round under the bonding authority granted by our community.
That's a roll call, isn't it?
Correct.
Amy Bach, yes. Woody Campbell, yes.
Tim Monaker, yes.
Kate Reed, yes.
Looks like yes.
Jessica Jernigan, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Next, we have the Mount Pleasant Public Schools field trip approval for the GI Tech UK trip.
So in your board packet, you have the field trip request for the annual leadership conference for BPA. This is the state competition. And they are going March 7th through the 10th to Grand Rapids, and we're asking that you approve this field trip because it is an overnight field trip, although it is something that we do.
Can you tell us what GPA is?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Business Professionals of America, so we typically have them come every year in May and do one of their presentations, and they compete in all things business, so it's a wonderful organization.
Cool. I move that we approve this field trip.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. Next, we have recommendations.
First, we have the PSC recommendation.
Never mind. The PSC recommendation regarding the AP environmental science.
Yes, at our last board meeting, we heard from Ken Schaefer, and he recommended that we recognize AP Environmental Science as a senior math credit, and PSC supports that recommendation. So we'd like to have the board recognize AP Environmental Science as the senior math experience.
I move that we recognize AP Environmental Science and consider it for our senior year math experience.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. And we have resignations.
Yes, we are sad to accept the resignation of Jordan Gerhardt. Shannon has been there heading to a new adventure due to an employment opportunity for him. She's been a great teacher for us, and she will finish up the year with us. We wish her well.
Is there a motion to accept the resignation?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And then we are excited to welcome as new hires Mackenzie Uza and Brittany Sides. Both of them will be joining us for next school year, and they're both special education teachers.
Is there a motion to accept the new hires?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Welcome to the district, and it's very exciting to see 2 special ed teachers in the list of new hires. Thank you. And then that brings us to our Board of Education discussion. I can start us up. I want to echo Jennifer, your comments about having our peacemaking ceremony tonight, especially considering the work involved in rescheduling. I want to thank everybody for making it happen despite the obstacles for showing up tonight and seeing our open day there is one of the few events. I really actually can't think of another event that brings our district together quite in the same fashion, everyone in the same room from K through 12th grade. And so I think it's quite special. And thanks everyone again for this.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about that event and everything leading up to it when we see how many family members and other community members show up for each student who is being honored. It's awesome to see that.
I also want to express my gratitude for the rescheduling and the orchestration of very positive community event, and also St. English for adding the addition of the drum there. I thought that was a beautiful gesture. Thanks.
I'd like to acknowledge the hard work that the Aquatics Commission has been doing lately in supporting and being very reactive to the questions of the community in a very appropriate way. I'd like to acknowledge their work and their commitment to all of that work for the election that's coming up in no week.
If that's it, I think that adjourns our meeting for tonight. Thank you, everybody.